Okay. What does she mean? How old was she when she first found out about the syndrome? In fact, why did she become familiar with it at all?
私の実家は、さとこちゃんやリカちゃんたちと同じで、親戚がいませんでしたの。それで施設に引き取られて。それがもう本当に劣悪な施設でして。あの頃、繊細孤児ってまだまだいたでしょ？そういうのを集めて補助金だけをせしめるのを目的にしたような本当にひどい施設で、そこを脱走した時に助けてくれたのが祖父高野先生でしたの。
Okay. She is actually gonna be laying out like this entire thing. Okay. She's being very direct about it.
では、あなたは高野先生と生活なされていたのですか？
So now A.k.a. is truly gonna connect the dots right over here that, okay, Takano is researching this because of her grandfather.
なるほど。研究資料に若くして触れることができていたのも納得です。
Right.
しかし、なぜそれを伏せられていたのですか？
まあ大人の事情ですわ。奇病研究のために予算を求めるのと、死んだおじいちゃんの研究のために予算を求めるのでは、少々事情が変わってきますから。
True. Conflict of interest.
なるほど。長いことの疑問が氷解しました。あなたが高野先生を語る時の尊敬の眼差しは、一研究者に対するものとしては説明できないものでしたので。しかしそこまで高野さんに尊敬させるとは、よほど人徳のある素晴らしい先生だったんでしょうね。
さて、人徳はどうだったでしょう。誰にも理解してもらえず、ずっと孤独に研究して、そのまま病死してしまいましたもの。祖父は孤独を愛する悪い癖がありましたので、協力者を得られなかったんですわね。
でも高野さんという優秀な助手がいたじゃないですか。そういえば高野さんも先生も読みは同じ高野ですね。
ええ、本当の名字じゃありません。祖父に敬意を表して同じ名を。本当は漢字も同じにしたいのですが、クライアントに説明するときに誤解されたくないと思い、読みだけを残して漢字を変えたんですわ。
Now I could see the connection between their two last names. That also revealed the connection between first names, Hifumi and Mio too. She doesn't need to tell me anything more than that. She lost her parents when she was young, and Dr. Takano took her in and loved her as if she was his own child. To show her love and respect, she decided to call him her grandfather. Now I know. That's the reason why she's devoted herself to researching Hinamizawa's syndrome. Now I understand how she must feel, knowing her research is soon to be terminated. Erika-chan had said that she was hurt. Although I didn't know anything about it, I may have said something to hurt her before. I only cared about treatment and extermination, and didn't care about anything else until today. She must have considered that blasphemous towards her grandfather. Now I know why she became aggressive every time I expressed how I felt. After she was told that her research would be terminated, she stayed up all night and gathered up lots of documents. She went to Tokyo and requested an extension without depending on anyone else, and that request was rejected. The documents she used are now in a box in the underground storage. She must have exerted a lot of effort to put them together. Even someone without any knowledge or research could easily understand what she was trying to say. And, well, I'm not gonna say that it's like your fault or anything like that in the way that you expressed, basically because you didn't really know Takano's motivations and all that up until now. Now you're learning about this sort of stuff and why she feels so strongly about this. Now you're realizing that before why she took the effort to do all this, and more importantly, when you were saying to the higher ups, okay, I only need the budget to exterminate the Hinamizawa syndrome like these 3 years. If I can find the cure, that's all I need. Obviously this has affected Takano, even though you didn't even know that she wanted more out of it, not just the extermination of the syndrome. If you knew about Takano's motivations, you would have just fought back. This isn't just about exterminating the syndrome, but also doing the research in the first place. Now, granted, I get the feeling that if Takano were to tell this to Irie much earlier, before the budget was going to get cut, Irie would have been like, oh, okay, hold on a second, you bunch of men in suits, you bunch of idiots. We're gonna take the money and the cure, develop a cure for the Hinamizawa syndrome. We gotta continue the research. He would have been trying to help Takano and all that. I get the feeling that if Takano talked about this earlier, maybe things would have been different, and maybe with the help of Irie, they could have done something together to maybe extend the research and not just have Takano do it herself. Maybe? I don't know. I guess the question still stands. Why is that Takano is telling Irie this right now and not earlier? Well, it's also because Takano and Irie's relationship before it wasn't the best, so Takano didn't really have that much trust in telling Irie before about this. But I guess it kind of makes you question, how come she's doing it right now? What changed? Is it because it is the last days before the mission is gonna happen? She's feeling very emotional, so might as well just at least have some tender moments with Irie and tell him all this? Is that why? I guess so. I don't know. However, it looked like some of those documents weren't even opened, and some had marks that told me they weren't treated the way documents are supposed to be. I'm sure some pages had absorbed her tears without me ever knowing. I heard from Tokyo that Takano's son had left a terrible impression with the board of directors. It's not easy to overturn a bad impression. In other words, she can never request an extension on research ever again. I was there when she found out about it. I was there when she found out she could no longer continue her grandfather's research, even though she must have promised him that she would complete it.
高野さんは入江期間閉鎖後にも個人研究を続けられますか?
She would have wanted to, but it's kinda hard to do that on your own. I mean, that was the mistake that the late Dr. Takano Hifumi did.
入江期間が閉鎖するときには症候群は撲滅されていますわ。病原体をシャーレに残し、誰かをさらって感染者にして研究しろと。個人で機材も予算も施設もなく、誰にも顧みられなかった祖父のようにホルマリンの匂いのこもった書斎で誰にも評価されず、ざれ言だと笑われるためだけに研究を続けろと。もう若さもなく気力もなく、ただの負け犬に過ぎない私に何を続けろとおっしゃるんです。
Tomitake-san once told me that the institute was supposed to be the Takano Institute. But our clients didn't like the idea of a young woman heading the facility, and that's why I was invited. Yeah, let's not forget, it is still like the 80s for Japan. A woman running an institute? Puh! That explains why she's been unfriendly since the day we met. It must have been blasphemy to her to see me go on about Hinamizawa syndrome and decide on a research plan according to my values and morals. To Takano, the syndrome is her grandfather. She must feel his presence when she's researching it. That's the reason why she often stays at the institute until late at night. Though it makes the mountain dogs annoyed, as they serve as security here.
蕎麦湯お飲みになります？
あ、そうですね。いただきましょう。
Her shoulders look fragile to me for the first time. And now I'm sure of Rika-chan's story. Takano-san holds an indescribable sadness within her. And if someone approached her, pretending to understand, she might just fall for it. Because of my position, anything I say to her will only hurt her more, probably. Sometimes words can harm people no matter how they are used. But the fact that I still spoke up showed how little experience I had in life.
せめて今後の予算配当を高野さんのやりたい研究に優遇しましょう。
So, going back to what I was saying before, some part of Irie is more than likely thinking that if Irie himself asked Takano about the research and, talk to her about this sort of stuff, like earlier, maybe things would have been different. He more than likely thinks about this sort of stuff, and thus, he's gonna feel guilty that he did not help Takano, like earlier.
少なくとも3年の継続は勝ち取れたんです。その3年間で精一杯の
It was all a slip. Even as I spoke, I started to regret trying to say anything.
お気持ちだけで結構ですわ。死の病にかかり、痩せ衰えていくのを3年も見守るのも辛いものですわよ。
If I remembered right, Dr. Takano came down with an acute dementia and chose to commit suicide while his mind was still functioning out of despair at his inability to continue his research further. My verbal slip had made her remember a painful memory and hurt her even more.
最後には眠ったままになり、生命維持装置の電源を切ることをいつかは選ばされる。ねえ、入江所長。その電源を切るのを、所長がその患者の担当医だったら誰にやらせますか？まさか、所長がその電源を切ったりはしませんわよね。
Takano-san asked me that, as if it was a normal question. She's only expecting to hear one answer.
もしそういう状況になるのなら、最後のスイッチは残されるご家族に委ねるでしょう。
まさか今生の別れの日にその場に立ち会わないわけがない。私はhinamizawa症候群の最後に立ち会いますわよ。絶対にね。
Someone knocked on the door, and I heard the voice of one of the other staff members.
所長、午後の診療が始まります。準備をお願いいたします。
ああ、申し訳ありません。今参ります。
私が片付けておきますわ。所長は診療室へお急ぎくださいな。いつものお年寄りたちがよもやま話をしたくて大勢お待ちでしてよ。
Takano-san laughed, but I know that laugh was trying to conceal her anguish. I'm not close to her personally, but she's my partner here at the clinic. I have been trying to avoid getting close to her, but maybe that was a mistake. If I had listened to her more, maybe I could have eased her pain a little. But it's too late. Tomitake-san is conducting an investigation to prove her innocence. Is she guilty or not? Either way, her heartache remains. After Irie left, Takano sat down on a sofa again and stared at nothing for a while. Then she got up and picked up the phone on the desk.
高野です。おこのぎはいる？私よ。20日からのつもりだったけど、今日から R の周辺監視を開始して。え？別にいいでしょ？それとも、今日は暑いから嫌だとでも言う気？ええ、お願い。決行日まであと5日。慎重に慎重を重ねても、罰は当たらないわ。ええ、よろしく。
はい。
Damn. She's starting it early? Huh.
失礼しますね。
Okonogi put down the phone and sighed. Although it's his job to do whatever Takano wants, he can't help but complain about getting such an order on such an extremely hot day. Well, I guess. Of course, if he complained, Takano would spit back twice as much reproach. Okonogi was sitting in the office of Okonogi Gardeners. Okonogi Gardeners. A dummy company. Not Okinomiya Guardians. As it happened, they regularly did gardening in Hinamizawa. If only so that nobody would get suspicious to see their uniforms and van around.
やれやれ。ウグイスとヒバリの休暇を取り消して呼び戻せ。R の監視を3日前倒しにしろと、我らのお姫様のご命令だ。監視体制をすべて3日前倒しにする。初日は白鷺だったな。4名体制、通話監視1、サポート1、R タク監視1、サポート1。白鷺リーダーは直ちに指揮に入れ。あと、電話設備工作も前倒しにするぞ。ウグイスの予定だったが、招集には1日かかるだろう。大鳥でやる。大鳥7、工作チームを編成して、今夜中に完了させろ。可能か？
もちろん。電気工作要員の訓練は十分です。
The Mondogs are different from regular battle unit. They are a technical squad formed from specialists in different fields of espionage. They were covert operatives for sabotaging telephone stations, like Okonogi just ordered. Ones for wiretapping, intelligence gathering, information manipulation, establishing networks in public institutions, and many others in various specialized fields. They belong to the self-defense force. Some are from fire departments, some are from police departments, and some are civil engineers. Of course, they have some experts in combat as well. Okonogi is one of those combat experts, and he didn't expect too much from the engineers. While they had all gone through the same basic training, what they were capable of was child's play compared to what an expert can do. Okonogi is the leader of a unit made up mostly of members who can't even do 100 push-ups. Really, that was the only complaint he had. He'd rather have been put in charge of the Bloodhounds, but somehow he became the leader of this strange unit. Maybe because of his cautious yet courageous personality. Since combat was his expertise, Okonogi wished deeply for combat. During the kidnapping incident 5 years ago, the plan was for the resisting criminals to leave the hostages behind on the scene and run after the police stormed in. He recalled the extremely frustrating memory of his combat with that plainclothes officer. That fell old man was acting so arrogantly, but he could have taken him within a matter of seconds. He could have just broken his neck. He could have turned him around, and snap! It would have been so easy for him. He remembered a young policeman too. He shot him in his shoulder, but he could have shot at his ear. He was told to go easy on him, so that was the best he could do. Damn. He'd thought of firing a second shot, but there just wasn't time. So the last shot he fired was that reluctant one. So if Okonogi didn't go easy on them and he would have just gone full on, yeah, I get the feeling that Akasaka and Boishi would not have lived to this day. Okonogi couldn't believe that such a pathetic battle was his last combat job. Regardless, he had continued to train so that he was ready at any time. Now that the operation had begun, he was hoping there would be a battle for him to fight. He didn't even need to fire a shot. He didn't even need to punch anyone. All Okonogi wanted was a battle that satisfied his pride. Nothing more.
はい、少々お待ちください。隊長、外線からお電話です。隊長宛てなのか、社長宛てなのかわかりません。
He's also the president of Okonogi Gardeners. Because of that, the members of the Mountain Dogs often call him that.
ちょっと待て、鉛に戻す。つったらんねえ。もうしよったんねえ。ほんま、こんなんでどうよ。で、どちら様んね。
女性です。野村と名乗ってます。おこのぎ社長を指名してます。
隊長宛てだ。社長室でと向こうに回してくれ。
Rattle, rattle, crash. I heard a noise, which sounded like many buckets crashing down. It's probably a noise from one of Toko-chan's traps. According to her trap map, anyone going near the wire trapping shack will set off a trap that makes a loud noise. That must have been it just now. I scouted around the shack last night before the girls left. The shack is very secluded and is located in a blind spot where nobody is likely to go. So this noise means something important. It means they've started their observation of Rika-chan. I can't let them notice the girls aren't home. They'll definitely call and come by to confirm they're here. Well, Akasaka, it's time for you to do your important duties right over here. Take on this Rika wig right over here and just pretend that you're Rika. And just go around the windows. So I have to make sure they think the girls are sick in bed. And that they don't hear the phone at the doorbell. Oh my god. This is gonna be like a Home Alone mission, isn't it? The curtains are closed, so they can't see what's inside the house. But to be certain, their beds are stuffed to make it look like they're sleeping. However, I have to be even more careful from now on. I can't let them notice that I'm staying here. For that matter, I have to make sure I can act when something happens. The phone rang slowly. Just as I expected. They're calling to see if anyone's home. They're already aware that they didn't go to school, so they're probably assuming that they're home, sick in bed. I am sure they want proof of that. The phone rang for a long time, which convinced me that it was indeed a call from the Mountain Dogs. Akasaka, are you also good at doing impressions of little girls? If there was no answer on the phone, then the next step would be to come by the house. Pretend to be a mailman or a neighbor and knock on the door. But I don't even need to answer it. If the girls are too sick to answer the phone, then they won't notice a knock on the door either. The increased hassle means a higher risk of discovery, but on the other hand, it also proves our enemy is closing in on us. It was actually better for me, since I could measure the severity of the situation. Besides, it is our ally, and he already knows Rika-chan is somewhere else. He's supposed to tell them that he came by because he heard Rika-chan and Satoko-chan missed school. You know what? That's true. Like, if they are sick, the doctor would just come in and check on them. So Irie could offer like an extra protection layer in the sense that Irie could just tell them, yeah, they're sick and, well, they gotta stay home. And that the two of them were in bed and should be left alone for a while. He's supposed to say that. They won't doubt Irie. They will believe him. You could call this an advanced level of mutual deceit. Yeah, as I said. They believe that they are deceiving Irie, when in reality, Irie is deceiving them. However, they are professionals, and we're a bunch of amateurs. Well, not me at least. Actually, maybe I'm not an exception. I don't know what they've got until I come face to face with them. our conditions aren't even. We're leading by a tiny bit because we made the first move. Once that's gone, we don't stand a chance. I promised Rika-chan that I trust her unconditionally. So even without proof, I'm ready to fight. But I can't beat this conspiracy by myself. And to gain help from the others, Tomitake has to find proof. Tomitake is in charge of our first attack. That means he is in the most danger too. It's understandable that Rika-chan kept warning him to be very careful. He should have started his investigation as early as last night. If that's the reason why they've begun observing Rika-chan, I can only pray for his safety and the success of the investigation. I heard a voice. Irie had arrived.
さとこちゃんにリカさん、ご主人様が会心に来ましたよ。
Okay. I heard footsteps coming up the stairs and a quiet knock.
大丈夫。私一人です。
もう少しここへに。この家はすでに敵の監視下にあります。
I let Irie in and closed the door quickly.
お疲れ様です。窓も満足に開けられないとあっては、まるで蒸し風呂ですね。
Whew.
これは差し入れです。
He handed me a plastic bag. It contained ice cream, cans of juice, some snacks, and even beer. Well, this obviously isn't for Rika-chan. I don't know. She loves drinking. He doesn't know though. I feel he's being a little careless. But I am grateful.
いかがですか、こちらは。
さっきこの家の電話を盗聴する監視小屋に何者かが近づいた形跡がありました。それから呼び出しの長すぎる電話が1件。おそらく学校を欠席したことを知り、在宅確認のために電話してきたのでしょ
う。Now here's the thing. I don't know if Akasaka talked to Tomitake about this sort of stuff, but you know, when Tomitake finds proof of Takano's guilt right over here, how is he gonna contact like everybody else about it, like to tell them? If he needs to talk to Akasaka specifically, I get the thing that there should be like a code or something. I don't think that he should come here to the house, because it would feel kind of suspicious for Tomitake himself to come here for some unknown reason. That would be a little bit suspicious. So a good code would be for Tomitake to call this place. But the problem is that... Nah, actually that would be pretty bad. I don't think... Because the phones are wiretapped and all that, so I don't think that he will even be able to say like anything through the phone. I don't know.
あなたもリカちゃんたちの様子を見てこいと誰かに言われたのではありませんか。
高野さんからリカさんたちが学校を欠席したのに病院に来ないから不安だと、様子を見てきてほしいと言われたんです。
やはり
リカさんとサトコちゃんの欠席を不審に思われたんでしょうか。
いえ、多分富武さんが内定を開始したことと関係があるんじゃないかと思います。
I mean, you know, true. Under normal circumstances, yeah, I guess it kind of depends. Like I'm questioning, under normal circumstances, how would Takano already know that they've been absent at school? I don't know. Unless they had like a programmed schedule at like I have like a doctor visit today. Unless that would have tipped her off, I guess. I don't know.
もしなかったとしても、今回の動きは彼にとって尻尾をつかむチャンスになるかもしれません。
どちらにせよ、もう何かが始まっているということなんですね。
そう見て間違いないでしょう。私たちの敵が高野と山犬なのか、そうではないのか、どちらにしてももう敵は動き出しているのは間違いありません。
hinamizawa村連続開始事件。 最初の2年は偶然が重なっただけでした。しかし3年目から高野さんはそれを面白がり、綿流しの夜に何かが起こり続けることを期待しだしたように思います。
綿流しのお祭りはあさって。敵が動き始めるタイミングとしては妥当かもしれませんね。そして5年目にリカちゃんを狙う高野か。恐ろしい女です。
And you haven't even met her up to this point.
リカさんがしていた高野さんの話、あれはどれも本当だと思います。今日初めて知ったんですが、彼女はhinamizawa症候群の第一発見者、高野先生の養女だったんです。
同じ高野ですね。なるほど。
彼女にとってhinamizawa症候群の研究を受け継ぐことは尊敬する祖父との絆だったんです。その研究が打ち切られることが確定した。それは彼女にとって祖父を冒涜するものなんです。
すべてリカちゃんの言っていた通りということですね。
はい。それと高野さんがこんなことも言っていました。3年で打ち切られることが決まっている研究を寿命が幾ばくもない眠ったままの患者に例えるんです。そしてその生命維持装置のスイッチを切るならば、それは残された家族の権利だというようなことを。
どうせ打ち切られる研究ならば、それに幕を下ろすのは高野先生の遺族高野美代だけと。
はい、そういう意味で言ったものと思います。
We're gathering the circumstantial evidence we need. Takano is in fact our enemy. He had been reluctant to accept it yesterday, but now he believes what Rika-chan said is true.
あとは富武さんに高野さんが企んでいる何らかの証拠を掴んでもらうだけです。そしたら関係者を一斉に拘束するための鎮圧部隊を呼び寄せるそうです。
高野は山犬なる特殊部隊を配下に持ちます。それを鎮圧できるような。
はい、私も名前しか知らないのですが、番犬という部隊がいるそうで、本当の非常事態が起こった時、武力で強襲する戦闘部隊だとか。
Like I'm gonna be honest, I cannot say that I understood like the whole like units, but isn't it that the Bloodhounds are also working for Takano? I don't know. At least we know that Okonogi is not part of the Bloodhounds. I think that's what it said. He is interested in combat. He is the combat type, but he is the leader of a unit that doesn't really specialize in combat, I think. No, I think I'm misunderstanding some stuff right over here.
山犬はどちらかというと機密保持などの情報部隊の性格が強いので、多分それよりはるかに強い部隊なんでしょう。
Intelligence unit for covert operations. So it's not as if they are specialized in combat, but I think that they do, don't they? At least Okonogi, that's for sure, but So wait, are you saying that we can actually choose the Bloodhounds to fight against the Mountain Dogs? Because that would be awesome.
表に出せぬ研究をする機関の万が一の造反に対応する鎮圧部隊となれば、多分相当の強さを持つでしょう。つまりそのいわゆる番犬部隊とやらをhinamizawaに呼び寄せることが我々の勝利条件になる。
そういうことになるんでしょうか。ただ一つ不安なのは、緊急マニュアルには機密保持のために村を封殺することを認める記述があることです。番犬部隊が来てもやることは彼らと同じで、結局は 村ごと証拠を隠滅するのではないかという不安も残ります。
Oh. In which case, Takano does have the bloodhounds under her finger too. As long as it's connected to, like, the emergency manual operation.
いえ、それはないでしょう。敵の狙いが緊急マニュアルの執行にある以上、それでは何の意味もありません。この陰謀が派閥抗争によるものならば、入江機関のクライアントたちの派閥は絶対に穏便に済まそうと思います。おそらく敵を吸収し、村人たちが何事かと目を白黒させているうちに決着させてしまうに違いありません。
I know this because I've done similar jobs myself. They'll pass through like a gale and complete their operation swiftly. Any unit capable of pulling that off against the Mountain Dogs must be very powerful.
とにかく富武さんからの連絡を待つしかありませんね。
ええ、これは持久戦です。ですが、一度有事となれば、それは電撃戦に様変わりする。緩急の差の激しい、辛い戦いになります。入江先生は、敵の腹中にいる心強い存在ですが、同時に最も危険な場所にもいます。常に油断せずにいてください。私たちはリカちゃんの味方になろうと決めた時点で、すでに彼らの敵なのですから。
Like, I'm trying to understand this, and you guys can correct me on this if I'm right, or it will be confirmed in our future conflict near the end of the story. But if I'm understanding this right, Takano, if she manages to kill Rika, that would trigger the massacre of the village operation, like the emergency manual, in which case the bloodhounds don't have much of a choice. They have to follow the order. But until then, they're not following Takano's orders. Their only job is to execute the emergency manual. It's not as if it's not as if they are following the orders of Takano in similar fashion to the Mountain Dogs. So it's a matter of how we can manage to get the bloodhounds in our hands. If we can find some proof, that means that we can deliver these to the bloodhounds and have them stop the Mountain Dogs and Takano. But if we are too late and we don't manage and Rika dies, then the bloodhounds will switch to like Takano's faction. Yeah, if that's the way I understand this, like that's the way I understand this, I think. The phone at this house is, of course, being wiretapped, so Irie has to come over to communicate with me. But that won't work in an emergency. A telephone is still better in that case. For those instances, I put together a memo for Irie. There's a method for communicating over a phone that's been bugged. Oh! It's something I came up with out of necessity once.
これは
緊急時用の私への電話連絡方法です。絶対に敵に奪われないでください。危険な時には必ず飲み込んで処分するように。
盗聴されているのにどうやって電話で連絡を？あなたが受話器を取ればたとえ無言であっても疑われかねないのに。
Wait, hold on a second. This may be connected to something that I was trying to say before, huh?
受話器を取らなくても連絡することはできます。
Oh.
少々コツのいる不便なやり方ですが、一番確かな連絡方法です。
Because, I was saying before, like, Tomitake wouldn't be able to call because it's wiretapped. But excluding that, I was thinking that in order for Akasaka to figure out if the person that is calling is some mountain dog or if it's Tomitake, would be for Tomitake to call this house, but let it ring for a specific amount of time first. If Akasaka were to tell Tomitake, hey, first ring for exactly 30 seconds and then close the phone. If Tomitake were to do that, then Akasaka is going to be sure, okay, so it was Tomitake the one who called. And then Tomitake calls a second time, and Akasaka would would pick up the phone and talk to Tomitake. That way, Akasaka would be able to tell that it was Tomitake, not Akasaka. Even if it's wiretapped and all that. Because the idea is for Akasaka to not pick up if it's a Mon dog or anyone else. But if it's Tomitake, that's the method that I was talking about. But what is this?
そして、それは敵の動きを最初に察知できるあなたにしか発することができない。
わかりました。それで、やり方は？
メモに書いてあります。簡単に説明すると、電話の呼び出し音の長さで連絡するのです。相手に電話をするとき、1分以上呼び鈴を鳴らし続けることはほぼありません。それを利用した呼び出し音による連絡方法です。1分鳴らし続けて切れば、そこは危険。脱出せよ。
Okay, so I was exactly thinking the same thing, except for the fact that you don't even pick up the phone. If it rings for a set period of time, that means it's an ally, whether it's Tomitake or Rie. Except you don't pick up the phone like at all. If it rings for more than a minute, it means, oh shit, okay, I got the message.
1分半なら、緊急事態。直ちにその崎邸へ急行せよ。
Damn, I was close. This is actually genius.
こんな感じで、30秒区切りで緊急性の高いメッセージが仕込んであります。他のメッセージはメモを見てください。でも、この1分と1分半の2つだけは絶対に暗記してください。
Okay, so if the phone rings for a minute, that means it's dangerous, leave. Minute and a half, emergency, head to the Sonzaki residence. Okay.
私の命がかかっていますので。
The message that lets me know my life is in danger is the shorter call. But if it's too short, I'll get it confused with the regular phone calls, which is not good. We don't pick on those. Those are like enemy. That's why to signal, he's supposed to hang up the phone within 3 seconds first. Then place the emergency call. Supposed to hang up the phone within 3 seconds, then place the emergency call. The reason why I use such a large difference of time is to make sure there's no misunderstanding. The tones the caller hears and the rings the receiver sends out are a little different. I don't want that little difference to change the message, which is why they had to be 30 seconds apart. Okay.
まず短く1回鳴らし、1分なら逃げろ。
A short ring first and 1 minute means run.
1分半なら、リカさんたちのところへ向かえ。はい、覚えました。
少々面倒と思いますが、あくまでも緊急事態用ですので、くれぐれもよろしくお願いいたします。
ええ、わかりました。危険な時の連絡は任せてください。
最後に、もう一つだけ暗記してください。とても嫌な暗号ですが、これも忘れないでください。この連絡に限り、短い1回は不要です。連絡方法は、3分以上呼び出し音を鳴らし続けること。
3 minutes.
電話をかけたまま受話器を外し、そのまま放置するのがいいでしょう。
その暗号の意味は？
連絡員に緊急事態。以後、連絡不能。
それは、私の身に危険が及んだ時という意味もあるんですね。
Ooh, yeah. If it comes to that, yeah, it makes sense that you would just like let the phone ring and you just run. It doesn't matter. If it's over 3 minutes, that means that you are in danger. 3 minutes though, that's a long ass time.
はい。緊急時にはこの家へ電話し、そのまま受話器を外し、安全な場所に身を隠してください。ただ、自らの危機を図るのはとても難しいことです。まだ大丈夫、多分大丈夫などと思っているうちに、 連絡の機会さえ逃してしまいかねません。少しでも嫌な予感がしたら緊急時と判断していいでしょう。陰謀の度合いから考えて敵は私たちを生かしはしません。くれぐれもご用心を。
わかりました。
Well, I mean, you know, as long as things are not gonna get complicated or anything like that, like, let's say that Iri is in danger, then he would have to pick up on, like, do the over 3 minutes kind of thing. But then afterwards, he is going to be fine. Like, they still need Iri to be fine, like, in this. But what happens if, like, the other messages, like the shorter messages, are kind of needed to be done, like, in that time span of over 3 minutes? As long as these messages don't happen, like, at the same time, like, the information that needs to be transmitted to Akasaka, as long as that doesn't happen, I think it's gonna be fine, but let's hope that's not gonna happen. Let's hope that the information is not gonna have to conflict with one another.
その場合、あなたはどうするんですか？
その際は状況によりますが、私もここを脱出します。あなたに危機が迫る以上、リカちゃんの身にも危険が迫っている可能性が高いですから。私は園崎邸を目指し、リカちゃんたちとの合流を目指します。
Oh, hold on a second. Okay, so from what I'm understanding right of here, this would basically fix, like, the conflict of all the messages, like, information happening at the same time. If it's over 3 minutes, that means that he's gonna be doing all of this, like, at the same time. Okay. That actually fixes things, I guess.
あくまでもこれは最悪の事態です。このような事態に陥ると決まったわけではありませんので、緊張することはありません。どうか気を楽に持たれてください。
ですが、油断せずにですね。
そうです。
Idiot nodded deeply. It's almost time. Something is about to happen. Ooh. I have plenty of questions. This could easily be one of those well-planned pranks. What I heard is just that extraordinary. But right now, it's a bad idea to ask questions just out of curiosity. That will be a waste of time. Mion has already explained everything about the events surrounding Rika-chan.
まあ、私も園崎家当主代行としていろいろと聞きたいことはあるよ。連続開始事件についてどうやら少なからぬ関係があるようだからね。でも今はそれはなしにする。しかし、うちに避難してきたのはいい判断だね。うちの地下なら核戦争だってしのげるよ。電気もある、電話もある。もちろん食料だってあるしね。山犬って連中がそんなにも厄介な相手なら、ますますこの村の中でリカちゃんたちをかくまえるのはうちしかありえないよ。
みんなを巻き込んでしまって申し訳ないと思いますです。
Rika-chan apologized from the bottom of her heart. Rika-chan has been dealing with this strange disease, this Hinamizawa syndrome, as well as these suspicious Tokyo people all by herself until today. She's been trying not to get us involved, and that's why she dealt with them all by herself. We can all imagine what she must have been feeling, so none of us can even think of anything to say. No, you cannot even imagine that. The silence went on for a while, but Nanyu clapped Rika-chan on the back.
リカは昨日から申し訳ないばっかり言い過ぎなのです。
Oh. Hanyu in her dress.
もう一回言ったら、リカは毎日僕にシュークリームをおごる罰ゲームなのですよ。はんはんはん。それに、みんなだって申し訳ないなんて思ってないですよ。 ケイイチ。
Hanyu suddenly addressed me. I could tell from her eyes that she was expecting something from me. Right. My role is to act as the flint for the other club members. It's my job to burn strong and bright red to get everyone excited. What have I been doing? Just sitting around.
そうだぜリカちゃん。ちょいとことがでかかったんで面食らっちまったが。なあみんな。
Yeah. You your role, Keiichi, is to be the blabbermouth, the one that talks for like 30 minutes, like getting everyone excited, like fiery and such. So do your job.
どいつもこいつも内心は面白くなってきやがったとか思ってんだろ。さとこ、どうもこいつは俺たちに本気でやってもいいってことみたいだぞ。お前、だいぶ温存してるんだろ。シャレじゃ済まない秘蔵のトラップをだいぶ隠し持ってるんだろ。そいつを食らわせてやる。またとないチャンスじゃねえか。
部活メンバーに私がいたことに感謝なさいませですわね。相手が何様だか存じませんけど、本気でやっていいとなれば、たとえ部活メンバーが相手でも塩をためらってきた奇跡の大トラップの数々が惜しげもなく飛び出しますのよ。そうだね。さとこちゃんのトラップはみーちゃんのお墨付きだもんね。たとえ相手が本物の軍隊でも、さとこちゃんのトラップはみんな蹴散らしちゃう。
と、さとこをよいしょしてるが、もちろんレナだって容赦ねえからな。レナは普段はおっとりしてるが、俺はこいつの本気の時を知ってるぜ。レナは本当に戦うべきここ一番では誰にも屈しない強さを持ってる。そいつはかなり半端ない。多分俺でも勝てないと思うぜ。
そんなことないよ。ケイチくんだってここ一番の時の爆発力と瞬発力はすごいよ。レナじゃ打ち破れない運命でも打ち破れる気がするもの。ケイチが赤く燃え上がる炎なら、レナは青く静かに燃え上がる炎という感じなのです。
Not the first time that we've heard that analogy, yeah.
お、それいい例えだな。真っ赤に燃える男、前原圭一。青く燃える女、竜宮レナ。
Can we have like an imagery of becoming Power Rangers throughout this as well? I mean,
我が部にその人ありと天下に知らしめる絶好のチャンスだぜ。
I cannot say that I'm the most experienced in Power Rangers and all that. The only experience I have with Power Rangers is like the Mystic Force series when I was a kid, and a little bit of Overdrive, I guess, but other than that, no.
そしてその最強のメンバーを最強のリーダーが従える。だよな、ミオ。子にして最強、揃えば無敵。それが俺たちの部なんだよな。
いやはや、不謹慎だと思って黙ってたけど、おじさんさ、本当はこう思ってたのさ。こいつは最高に面白くなってきたってね。今は感謝してるよ、リカちゃん。これだけの獲物をよくぞ知らせてくれた。このひなみ沢で我が部に挨拶なしで上等を決めてくれようとはね。きっちりけじめを取らせてもらうよ。
Yeah, well, only been 5 minutes since Rika-chan apologized to everyone and brought the boot down. Yet our morale was already at its peak again. We're up against such an absurd conspiracy. But if we're together, I think we can defeat it. This is the best feeling ever! Anya is the one who started all this. She's quite the promising newcomer. She knew exactly whom among us to get motivated first. No, moreover, while even our senior members were hesitant about taking on such a huge opponent somewhere in their hearts, she alone remained unflinching and raised our spirits. She's likely to grow even more formidable in the future.
ありがとうみんな。信じてくれてありがとう。 信じてくれるとずっと言ってますし、信じて当然。信じないやつなら仲間じゃないのです。だからお礼なんていらないのですよ、リカ。
ああ、そうだな。羽生の言う通りだ。お前、いい根性してるぞ。気に入った。
I rubbed Hanyu's head. She laughed as if I was tickling her.
さて、そうとなりゃ作戦会議だ。状況をもう一度整理しよう。まずリカちゃんとサトコは病気結石のふりをしてしばらくここに身を隠す。これは万が一に備えてだね。まさかここに2人が隠れてるなんて誰も知らないよ。留守番をしてくれてる赤坂って人に感謝だね。
でもよかったね。
Okay, we know that.
5年も昔にした約束を覚えてて助けに来てくれるなんて本当に素敵な人だね。ちょっと羨ましいかも。私の好みじゃありませんけど、リカにはちょっと嫉妬しましたよ。赤坂は別にそういうわけではないのです。
しかも東京の警視庁の公安部の人で、それも秘密部門所属なんだろ。すげえ頼もしい人だよな。秘密部門ってのがしびれるぜ。
赤坂はきっととても強いと思いますです。とても頼もしいのですよ。
ただ赤坂さんの役割はどちらかというと緊急時の防御役。むしろ重要なのは相手の尻尾をつかむ大任を帯びてる富武さんだよ。彼こそが真の攻撃役。しかも敵を鎮圧できる番犬部隊を呼ぶことができるのは富武さんだけ。
True?
つまり富武さんこそがこの戦いに勝利できるキーマンってことなんだよ。下手くそカメラマンの富武のおじさまが私たちの命運を握っている超重要人物とは不思議な感じ。
Damn. Everyone teased her by saying they're going to tell Tomitaki she called him that. Damn. Catching strays?
富武の頑張りを期待しないわけではありませんが、万が一に備え他の手も考えておいた方がいいと思いますです。
Ah, yeah. Also, let's see about doing something right over here. Like, this is very, very sudden right over here. I was waiting for some good opportunity for me to do this, like once per chapter and all that. What was it? It should be something like this. There you go. For one final time.
でも羽生、
There.
富武に頼る以外に何か打てる手などあるの？
Even in Ryokishi style, it just surprises me whenever Rika does that. Also, hey, Hanyu in Ryokishi art style.
いや、羽生の言うのも一理あるよ。何しろ敵から見ても富武さんはキーマン。自分たちを内定していると気づいたら暗殺することだってあるかもしれない。何しろここは彼にとって敵地も同然なんだからね。富武さんだけに頼りきらず、私たちに打てる手を探すのも大切だと思うよ。
そうですわよ。トラップだってたった一つで綺麗に決めるのは難しいですもの。いくつも仕掛けてあらゆる可能性に対処して初めて完璧になるんですのよ。そうだね。攻撃の手を一つに限る必要なんてない。富武さんとは違う形で他の攻撃ができないか探してみるといいんじゃないかな。
でも東京についてわからない私たちがどんな手を？
富武さんの重要性の一つが番犬部隊を呼び寄せることだってんなら、俺たちにも彼らに連絡する方法を教えてもらいたいよな。そうすれば万が一富武さんが敵にやられても俺たちは勝利条件を失わずに済む。
そうだね。 富武さんの最大の価値はそこにあるからね。同時にそこがこちらのアキレス腱でもある。事情を話して富武さんに彼らとの連絡の取り方を教えてもらおう。ただ問題なのは富武さん自身が市内に身を隠しちゃってて、こっちから連絡を取る方法がないって点なんだよね。
でもいい手だと思いますです。富武と次に連絡を取ることができたら、番犬への連絡の仕方を聞きましょうです。まずこれが一案。他にはないでしょうか。
Before we knew it, Hanya was making sure we moved along with our proceedings. Rena noticed that too, giving a pleasant smile to the girl trying to be a part of our group.
今の手は富武さんに万一があった時のための保険だよな。また別の角度の攻撃を考えたいな。富武さんの調査に貢献できるような攻撃ってねえか。
面白いですわね。何かのトラップを仕掛けて尻尾をつかみ、黒幕に言い逃れできない証拠を突きつける。最高のトラップシチュエーションでしたよ。奴らの狙いが僕なら、僕を何かのおとりにするのはどうですか。危険だけど高野たちは僕が目的なんだから食いつかざるを得ないのです。かなり危険な一手だね。でも確かに高野さんがリカちゃんを追っているという大きな証拠をつかめる手だよ。
I mean, not to mention some specific details in regards to Rika's death, which Rika doesn't remember, but Hanyu surely does. Rika's death more than likely happens like 99% of the time, like at night. I don't think that Takano is gonna do this like at night, and she has to die in that specific way, like at the shrine, like naked, our guts spilled out and all that, so it has to be specifically at night. During the day, I don't think that they're gonna be like attacking like whatsoever, so we could do some stuff during the day maybe.
わざと姿を見せて騒ぎを大きくして逃走戦にすれば、少しは面白い効果が期待できそうだね。
I mean, unless they're gonna do like the tactic which we haven't seen until this point, but they could do the tactic of kidnapping Rika during the day and then just having her kidnapped until the night, at which point they're gonna die, so I don't know.
そこで里子の裏山が役に立つ。
あそこに逃げ込めば追っ手は大変なことになりますですよ。
だよな。へへ。こいつは最高の見物だぜ。
Oh, there's this. I guess them believing from the start that this whole conspiracy thing is going on makes it easier for us to actually do the traps. Because I was thinking before, how can we actually convince them to do the traps? Since before it was all just a comic at first.
面白くなってきやがった。
でもやっぱりそれは最後の一手だと思うかな。
かな？
裏山にこもれば籠城戦になって状況はだいぶ変わる。この手に訴えるのは本当に最後の最後だと思う。そうですわね。裏山のトラップは防御効果が非常に高いでしょうけども、あくまで防御ですわ。敵に対し攻撃するものとは違いますもの。
True. I mean, if we are to have like a mission of attack in order to solve the conflict right over here, we would need like different layers of plans. First would be the offense mission, which I don't know what we're gonna do, but we're gonna do that thing. But once, like, if we fail in that first mission, or if we succeed in retrieving like some important information, they're definitely gonna come after you all. In which case, we're gonna be going for the defense mission, which would be to retreat ourselves to like the forest where Satoko's traps are, and barricade ourselves in like one house until most of them are defeated, and for those who are still alive, surviving and reaching finally the house where all the girls are barricaded, we would go with mission C, like another offensive mission, for the rest of the survivors of the Bloodhounds and Takano and all that to finally put the nail in the coffin. So sort of like offense, defense, and then offense in some way. With the hopes that the final offense, third, like, offense mission is gonna succeed, that is. Because if it doesn't, then... oof.
裏山籠城は追い詰められた最後の切り札になるだろうね。これは本当に最後の手段。ここが敵に襲われ、ここを捨てざるを得ない時だけのね。ちなみにうちの地下には隠しトンネルがあって山中の井戸に抜けられるようになってるんだよ。
すっげえな、ミオンの家。やっべえ、ますます面白くなってきたぜ。敵は謎の組織で、秘密作戦に秘密基地、秘密の地下道。これで燃えなきゃ男じゃねえぜ。
男でなくても燃えまくりなのですよ。さあ、これで2案出ましたです。僕たちはまだまだ思いつきますですよ。もう1案くらい言ってないですか？
そうだな、もう一案欲しいぜ。今の案もどっちかというと防御的な案だからな。もっともっと攻撃性の高い我が部にぴったりの案は出ないのかよ。なんていうのかな、相手にガツンと一撃が入って連中の陰謀が頓挫しちまうくらいのすげえやつだよ。
僕たちにそんな方法があるのでしょうか？きっとあるよ。レナたちはリカちゃんが思ってるほど無力じゃないし、切り札だってないわけじゃない。彼らにとって重要なリカちゃんというキーマンが一緒にいる。これが重要な切り札になるんだから。リカちゃんをおとりにするっていう意味じゃなくてね。
確かに女王感染者が私たちのところにいるのは彼らに対して大きなアドバンテージになるね。連中の目的は何？リカちゃんを殺して緊急マニュアルとやらに従って緊急措置の行使を余儀なくさせ、それを組織内の派閥争いに利用すること。そうだね。
そうなのです。リカは奴らにとって全てを吹き飛ばす爆弾みたいなものなのです。
それを爆発させて大騒ぎを起こし、それに乗じて何かを得するのが奴らの狙い。
それを爆発させないのが私たちの勝ちということになると、それはあまりいい状況ではありませんわね。
確かに。
I mean, we have undeniable proof in like one of the other timelines that Hanyu surely knows. Rika did not get killed by Takano and the Bloodhounds and all that, but instead it was killed by Shion. She completely disappeared because Shion made her disappear and die. And because Takano and the Bloodhounds didn't manage to do that themselves, that plan failed for them.
こちらはいつまでもずっと守り続けなくちゃならないけど、向こうはなりふり構わずリカちゃんを殺せば勝ちになる。
So, you know, in this case, it is a trigger. Well, splitting hairs right over here. Rika is not necessarily like the trigger, but at the same time she is, because like her death doesn't necessarily trigger the destruction of the village as long as somebody else is doing it. It's them doing it that is the trigger.
まるで片方にしかゴールがないサッカーだよ。
その片方にしかゴールがない異常なサッカーを告発して番犬部隊を呼び寄せるのがいわゆる富武作戦の要だね。奴らの陰謀を砕く私たちのゴールは何かない？あるはずだよ。こういう時は立場を逆にして考えると見えてくる。あれ？その手があったか。
Mion started to grin in a weird way. Here she goes. The winds are blowing stronger on her side, and she's getting into better than top form. Mion is pretty smart. She is great at analyzing situations. And that's why, when Eureka-chan first told her everything, She immediately decided that there was no way for us to win and became depressed. However, while Mion's easily crushed, she's also able to exhibit incredible power when the wind's on her side. We created that tailwind, and now her cell is receiving the push it needed.
リカちゃん、もう一度確認するね。その緊急マニュアルってのは、リカちゃんが死ぬと村人が48時間以内に全員発狂するっていうから、そうなる前に村を鎮圧するために発動されるんだよね。
はい、そうなのです。はお？どうしてリカが死んだこともないのに48時間でそんなことになるとわかるのでしょうか？確かにそうだね。うん、おかしいよそれ。なんで48時間で村人がみんな発狂するなんて決めつけられるんだろう。
The thing is, they don't know for sure. It's all theory that, well, I did say that, like, I did say at some point that Takano maybe realizes that something like this is not possible. But she is creating that that scenario to make everybody else think that it is actually true, to make the research more believable. Well, it's not 100% sure, and we have proof that it doesn't happen that way. So,
僕にはよくわからないのですが、高野が言うには他の国の例でよく似たケースがあり、入江も実はちんぷんかんぷんだと言ってましたです。あ、まさか。なるほど。私わかりましたわよ。敵の弱点が。
ああ、俺も分かったぜ。そうかそうか、そうだよな。これは確かに盲点だったぜ。
二人とも何が分かったのですか？
are we gonna fake Rika's death?
僕には分からないのです。分かんない。レナにも分かんないよ。
Because this is like, this is actually the first time that I'm thinking about this. Like, this is the first time that we're actually thinking of offensive mission right over here. Like, in similar fashion to those fragments where Shion is the one who killed Rika, but then nothing happened, like 48 hours after her death. That means that Takano's mission failed. We can make it happen, but if we fake Rika's death, and in the 48 hours of them knowing that Rika is dead, even though she isn't, of them knowing that Rika is dead, but the village is completely fine, like after that, then it would mean that the research is complete bupkis, and thus Takano is not gonna get her win. The problem is though, like, one thing that I don't understand about this is why is it that Takano herself has to do it? Because let's say that they figured out that Rika died because of something else. It was made public to them and like the higher-ups that Rika died. Not necessarily because of Takano and the Bloodhounds and all that, but by something else. They're still gonna do like the emergency manual. No, I think no. We are gonna do it exactly like the other fragment with Shion. We're gonna make her disappear, and when they find Rika's fake body, they're gonna realize that Rika died like more than 48 hours. But how are you gonna actually manage to do that? I don't think that we can, to be honest. I don't know. Because for that to actually be possible, then Rika truly has to die, but we cannot allow that.
あれレナとリカちゃんはわかんないの？最後までわかんない方は恥ずかしい罰ゲームってことにしようかね。羽生はどう？あんたならとっくにピンときてそうだね。
はい、分かってますですよ。だからこそリカは高野にとっても重要人物だったのです。 これはリカとレナへのヒントなのですよ。私からもヒントですわよ。敵の狙いは派閥争いのためにHinamizawaで大騒ぎを起こすこと。そしてそのための手段として緊急マニュアルを使おうとしているわけですわ。ということはこの緊急マニュアルこそ敵の陰謀のアキレス腱になるということですわ。わかんないのです。リカ、僕に今まで意地悪してごめんなさいと謝ったら答えを教えてあげますですよ。
まっぴらごめんよ。そのあうあう気が散るから黙らせて。
なんだなんだ、鋭いレナまで気づかないのかよ。いいか、俺たちの攻撃が富武さん一人に委ねられていて、それがアキレス腱であるように敵の攻撃も緊急マニュアル一つに委ねられているんだよ。ってことは緊急マニュアルの根底を打ち砕いてやればいい。わかるか？緊急マニュアルの意味を失わせてやればいいんだよ。
緊急マニュアルの意味は何ですか？それはHinamizawa症候群の大騒ぎを災害のふりをして隠すためなのです。だから村人たちがおかしくなる48時間以内に村を丸ごと抹殺してしまおうとする。そしてそれが敵の狙いなのです。ということは、つまり48時間以内に緊急マニュアルを使わせなければいい？僕を殺さなければその48時間は始まらないんだから、その48時間を逃げ切ればいい？
何よ、二人とももう答えを口にしてるじゃない。
I mean, okay, like I was thinking about this. We're gonna make it so that... okay. Like I'm thinking of something. We fake Rika's death somehow. I don't know how, but we're gonna fake Rika's death, which will alert Takano and the Bloodhounds to do their thing and say, okay, let's commence the emergency manual. And somehow we're gonna stop them from executing the manual, the emergency manual, for 48 hours. And somehow, and if we manage to do that for 48 hours, they're like, the even higher ups are gonna realize that not only are the villagers okay for like 48 hours, but also Rika just comes in and well, I mean, it doesn't necessarily mean it's not necessary for Rika to actually come in and you know, be all surprise, I was actually alive all this entire time and all that. But I think the point is that we're gonna have to make the higher ups realize that the emergency manual was never needed to begin with.
いい？じゃあ答えを教えてあげよう。みんないい？せーの。リカちゃんが48時間前に死んでればいい。
We all said it in unison. Boy, we are good at this. We never mess it up.
わかったよ、わかった。僕もわかりましたです。
Ren and Rika-chan clapped their hands together. They finally figured it out. Why did it take so long for us to come up with this?
やっとみんな思いつきましたです。こんな案、1案目でさっくり出してほしいものなのですよ。さっきから後ろ向きな案ばっかりだったので、ひょっとして思いつかないのかと焦ってましたのです。
ほーん、言ってくれるじゃない羽生。 あんたますます気に入ったよ。この功績を認め、あんたには後で我が部金星特別十字章を授与しよう。まあそれは後に置いといて、今は作戦の説明に入ろう。奴らのゴールの最大の拠り所である緊急マニュアル、これにはでっかいウィークポイントが隠されてる。それはHinamizawa症候群は女王感染者の死後48時間で村人が全員発狂するから、そうなる前に抹殺せよという。つまりリカちゃんが48時間前にすでに死んでいるのに、村に何も起こらず平和だったら、このマニュアルの根本が崩れるってことなんだよ。
True. And that's it, to say the least. Nobody really wants to do such a terrifying thing. But if they don't execute the manual, the villagers might go mad and spread to the surrounding communities. They're hesitant to execute it, but they want to keep the damage to a minimum. But what if they find Rika-chan's body 48 hours after her death? The major promised that the villagers will lose their minds within 48 hours, or the Queen Carrier's death will collapse. True. Like, if they find out, like, after 48 hours that Rika is actually alive, then that doesn't mean jack shit. They might actually repeat, like, the thing and trying to kill her. So, it will be something similar to this. We fake Rika's death, we let the 48 hours go without the village going insane, and that will mean that the higher-ups are gonna have to push, like, the stop button on Takano's, plans and, like, emergency manual, and have her fail. And we only make Rika, like, you know, we will no longer have to hide Rika until, I don't know, maybe like a week or a month after. Like, she's basically gonna have to hide for a very long time, long after Takano's plan failed.
幸いリカはここに隠れているのですから、リカが死んでしまったという嘘をつくのは可能なのです。
リカちゃんが世間に目撃されたのは昨日の学校が最後だから、それから48時間だから、あさっての早朝くらいに死体が見つかったということになると、とても好都合だね。
そうか、警察の大石さんの助けがあればリカちゃん死亡の偽装は可能なんだね。その通りですわ。大石さんにうまくやってもらってリカの死体が見つかり、それが死後48時間経過してるって嘘を発表してもらうんですの。
Okay.
まあ公式発表にするといろいろ余波がありそうだから、入江機関にだけ嘘を流せば十分だろう。しかも監督がこっちの味方なんだから、連中をコロッと騙すのは可能なはずだ。
これは考えたわね。
緊急マニュアルの信憑性が失われれば、こんなひどい作戦が承認されることなんてありえない。つまり連中にとって最大の弱点は緊急マニュアルであり、そしてリカちゃん自身だったというわけなんだよ。
大石は協力するとまだ言ってくれたわけではありませんが、僕はきっと力を貸してくれると信じていますです。これは愉快なトラップになりましてよ。高野さんが慌てふためく姿が目に浮かぶようですわ。
高野は私と聡子が風邪で寝込んで家にいると信じ込んでる。でも姿を見たわけじゃなく、きっとそこにいるだろうという想像でしかない。それが実は他にいて、そしてあさってに突然私の死体が見つかり、しかも48時間前には死んでいたなんてことになったらなん
だかすっごい痛快なことになりそうだね。
となれば黒幕たちはこの緊急マニュアル作戦が失敗したと判断して撤退するだろうね。ここで私たちの攻守が逆転する。そこまで至ればきっと敵の動揺の隙をついて富武さんが何かをつかむ。
そして陰謀を鎮圧するために富武が番犬のワンワンを呼び寄せて敵をやっつけてくれるのです。これが僕たちのゴールなのです。
よっしゃー、見えてきたじゃねえか、俺たちの勝ち方が。しかも最高に俺たちにぴったりの騙し方だぜ。気に入った気に入った、最高に気に入った。
We all encourage each other with a hip hip hooray! This is definitely getting really interesting. Still, what's key is that the claim of Rika-chan being dead for 48 hours is believable. For that, we'll need Oishi-san's help. Okay. And right as we thought about asking him, he arrived at the Sonozaki residence. Hey! Oishi-san knows that Rika-chan is hiding here. He also knows that some members of the Mountain Dogs have infiltrated the police station. They've even wiretapped Rika-chan's home phone. So the safest way to contact her, he figured, is in person. Alright, well, with that, we're gonna be going back to our our current fragment with this art style.
赤坂さんはうまいことやってて無事ですと伝えてほしいと言われました。あの人は5年前とは比べ物にならないくらい成長してます。
Like, believe it or not, like changing art styles like that actually takes a tiny bit more time than usual than if I were to just go through this like normally.
あの砦は彼なら守りを務められるでしょう。
In the editing, that is. Oishi-san loosened his tie while drinking his barley tea. I bet he never thought he'd end up drinking a glass of barley tea at the home of his old enemy, the Sonozaki family.
それで大石、この48時間作戦なのですが、どう思いますですか？
ねえ、なかなか面白い作戦だと思います。敵に対する強力な揺さぶりになるでしょう。おそらく敵は動揺し、焦ってミスを犯すはずです。それは富武さんにとって掴むべき尻尾となるに違いありません。いや、実にうまい作戦ですよ。3人集まればなんとかって言いますが、若い皆さんがこれだけ集まるといいアイデアも出てくるもんです。
Oishi-san laughed in admiration and assured us that the operation will definitely make an impact. However, he hesitated a little too.
こいつは大勝負になります。勝っても負けても、私はこの作戦の責任を取らされるでしょ
う。Oof. True. I mean, he is the one who has to say publicly that Rika has actually died, even though she hasn't. So that's a bit of a... Well, I mean, I get the feeling that if we were to play our cards right and we finish all this, Oishi could just be like, at the end of the day, oh, wait, hold on, the laboratory, like, not laboratory. Basically, he's gonna say that, oops, we did a mistake. She hasn't actually died. She's actually alive, or something like that. Maybe. Like, she got the wrong report, or something, maybe. I don't know.
うまくごまかすつもりですが、下手をすりゃちょいと痛い目にも合うでしょう。ちょいと覚悟が必要です。
In our 48-hour operation, Oishi-san ends up bearing most of the responsibility. And the police are a strict organization. There's no guarantee they won't investigate. Oishi-san is planning to retire this year. He needs his pension in order to pay off his mortgage. He is at a very delicate point in his life.
くそ、私もこの48時間作戦、かなりいい手だと分かってるんです。しかし、私ってやつは。
大石、難しければ無理にうなずかなくてもいいのですよ。僕たちは大石の犠牲を踏み台にして勝利を勝ち取りたいなんて思ってないのです。
Is it possible for us to make somebody else in the police to do the announcing? Like, I know we're basically gonna be using as somebody as a scapegoat for Oishi and all that. He wouldn't have to take. Well, the thing is, I don't think that Oishi is gonna accept that. I don't know. But I don't know. Nobody knew what to say to him, but Hanyu broke the silence. She is full of energy of awaing during our club, but at times like this, she also has the power to heal the hearts of those who are hesitating and growing weak. It's like being involved in a mysterious embrace. If her appearance matched her level of maturity, Hanyu would probably look like a mother. I mean, she probably would be. Again, the mystical aura behind Hanyu is something yet to be explained, which... she is many, many, many years old. Even older than Rika, so...
僕たちは最強の部活メンバーなのです。48時間作戦がダメなら、もっともっと効果的で面白い作戦をすぐに考えちゃいますのです。ね、ミオン？
ああ、そうだよ。
Cause from what I understood from like the little backstory of Hanyu and the origins of like Onigafuchi and all, it definitely seemed like she was older at that point. Like, you know, with a voice and all that, I think, from what I remember. So it kind of makes me think that this is a kind of a situation where Hanyu is taking like a specific form that she has never taken before, but she is taking this form of a little girl just to connect more with Rika and the other club members and all that. Like, this isn't her original form or anything like that. Or maybe this is a form that she has taken in the past, it's just that she is the most comfortable in this when close to Rika.
おいさん、無理なら断ってくれて全然 OK。むしろ私たちも大石さんの迷惑も考えず勝手に盛り上がっちゃって悪かったと思ってるもん。
そうですわね。困らせてごめんなさいですわ、大石さん。
Rena whispered to me while watching them talk.
羽生ちゃんって結構うまいね。年下の子にこんなこと言われちゃったら一肌脱がずにはいられなくなっちゃうもん。
って羽生が慰めてるのってそういう意味があるのかよ。
みー、だって羽生は本当は僕よりずっとタヌキなのですよ。
Damn. His son moaned and groaned. Hanyu looked over and grinned, wickedly, at us. I take it back. This girl, she really is sly. Hanyu is more dangerous than I thought. Next time we do a club activity, I'll really have to watch out.
ちょっと一晩だけ時間をください。署内で信頼できる人間に打ち明けて協力を求めてみます。大丈夫、絶対に信頼できる人間です。私も引き受けたなら失敗しましたじゃすみません。なのでやる前に賞賛を図らせてください。
Oishi-san never makes promises unless he's sure he can keep them. And that's why he speaks cautiously. When considering his position, it was certainly a decision that required courage.
大丈夫ですよ、大石。もし退職金がなくなっちゃっても、きっとミオンが何とかしてくれるのです。ね。はうはうはう。みー。部活メンバーに協力する以上、そうじゃないと大石がかわいそうなのです。みー。
まあね、おじさんの家はこう見えてもお金持ちだからね。
We've got two sly foxes. I'm probably going to be the epitome of a free-for-all in the future. Everyone is a sly fox in this now that I'm thinking about it. Jesus. Well, with how intense the club is in the first place, the meeting ends with that. I mean, no joke, everybody is a sly fox. We'll find out if we can go ahead with the 48-hour operation or not by tomorrow, depending on Oishi-san's answer. We haven't heard from Tomitake-san yet, but I'm sure he started his investigation on Takano-san. The coach and Akasaka-san have to wait patiently, each surrounded by the enemy. They are both in very dangerous positions, so I'll just have to pray for their safety. And then, there's Takano-san. I'm still having a hard time believing she's involved in such a vast conspiracy. If someone told me the whole thing was a lie, I might even believe them. That's why I want Tomitake-san to investigate. She's mysterious and a bit cold, but she can be fun to be around too. Also, I've always thought of her as one of the villagers. It hurts more than a little to suspect one of your own. I can understand what Tomitake-san is going through. This doesn't have to be an investigation to confirm her guilt. Instead, I want him to prove that she is not guilty. It's too painful for people to doubt one another.
Moshi. ああ、何度もお電話をさせてしまいすみませんでした、富武に。
いえ、それより何か分かりましたか?
A background investigation usually takes a few months. It can't be rushed within a day or two. But Tomitake sensed that something huge had started to make its move after what Rika and the others told him. And it was definitely getting closer. But once it was close enough to see, it would be too late. That was why he was checking on their progress so frequently.
高野3佐については現在調査を続けています。アルファベットの客員に迎えられるときに別の部署ですでに身辺調査を行っていたらしく、その資料の引き渡しを要求しています。アルファベット5については今総員体制で当たらせているところです。もうしばらくお時間をください。
分かってます。ですが事態は切迫しつつあるように感じていますので、くれぐれも緊急にお願いいたします。
はい、もちろんです。それから富武任意の依頼とは別に本日付で入江機関への緊急内定が命じられました。
What?
優先度最大。命令書は幕僚長名です。
幕僚長が
The chief of staff?
私の調査依頼とは別に？
はい。あくまでも別件となっていますが、私の見たところ、これは富武任意の調査に対するトップからの強力な後押しではないかと。
Does this chief of staff happen to be a woman? Possibly somebody that we know?
幕僚長が強力?
I'm not talking about Takano, I'm talking about that other person, Nomura. What does this mean? The only thing I can assume is that the top member of the JGSDF have realized the danger of the conspiracy surrounding the A.k.a. Institute. Like Rika-chan said, if this conspiracy's intent is to execute the emergency manual, then the opposing camp will try to stop that from happening. Oh boy. Like this could actually become complicated, if I'm being honest. Like we have Takano and the Mountain Dogs. We have Bloodhounds, which depending on how we handle this, either it's gonna execute the emergency manual, or it's gonna help us against Takano pulling the emergency manual, and then we have other forces that are gonna try and stop Takano, which could be detrimental to the Bloodhounds and all that. My request for investigation is the first step in putting a stop to their plans. So if the masterminds were influencing the Chief of Staff, he probably tried to shut my investigation down. But he's supporting it instead, which probably means that the Chief of Staff isn't my enemy. In fact, he might belong to the opposing camp. It's hard to say if he belongs to them or not. He might just be under order from the ones pulling the strings for the opposing camp. If that's true, then the enemy has already noticed something, and it's possible they'll start exerting pressure soon enough. Like, it's stuff like this. Like, this is the kind of stuff that can actually get complicated for me to understand, so I hope that I'm gonna be able to understand this So how much can I find out before that happens? I don't know much about the top brass. Still, for the chief of staff to get involved. Putting aside if Takano-san is guilty or not, I'm certain that something extremely big is starting to happen around the S8E Institute.
入江機関についての調査も急ピッチに進めています。まだ分析は終わっていませんが、入江機関内の予算の動きに不審があるようです。
Uh-oh.
単なる書類のミスなのか、何かの工作なのかは現在腕利きに表せています。
口座に不審とは何です？
はい。入江機関の運営資金用に分配口座があるのはご存知かと思います。そこの数字が微妙に合いません。プール金への流出、もしくは不明金の流入の可能性があるとのことです。また、領収書の日付にも不審な点があり、捏造の疑いが持たれています。
Funds are usually supplied annually. For example, if a budget of 1 million yen is approved, 1 million is supplied in April, and the facility manages those funds so they can keep things running for 1 year. Okay, so the thing is, I feel like this is an important detail for Tomitake to realize, oh fuck, this is evidence that clearly some stuff is happening behind the scenes that I'm not aware of, and thus would suspect Takano. However, because the original idea was that, well, the thing is, I don't even know, like, I am forgetting, like, what are the Bloodhounds specifically? Do they work for the government, or... Because if they work for the government, it doesn't really make sense, because it's the government that has shut down the investigation on the reports in the illegal funds that made Akasaka go, ah shit, well, we cannot investigate that. But then he found out that it has something to do with the ED Institute and decided to investigate on his own. Like, bottom line, the government doesn't want to, like, the reports to go further, because if that's the case, then the government would be overthrown in Japan. You create, like, mass, like, bad image for the government in Japan. So it is interesting that there is actually, like, a faction that is still investigating this stuff, like the Bloodhounds right over here. So one would assume that they are investigating independently from the government, because they are aware that the government said no, you're not gonna investigate the stuff, but the Bloodhounds are still investigating the stuff. So depending on how they use the money, it's possible to have some left over at the end of the year. If they only use 90,000 yen, they will have 1,000 left. 100,000 left. Then for the following year, they'll be told that as they only needed 900,000 yen, 900,000 should be enough. Furthermore, there should be 100,000 yen left over, so they should only need 800,000 the following year. Therefore, they then only get 800,000 yen when April comes around, which is 200,000 yen less than the previous year. As some of you have already noticed, the more leftover money you have, the more of the fewer funds you receive the next year. Therefore, it's smart to use up your entire budget. But some people try to get by until the end of the year, and if there is 100,000 yen left, they try to make it look as though they've used up the money, even when it's, in fact, in a safe somewhere. They report that they've used exactly 1 million yen, and they get another 1 million for the following year. Yet there's still 100,000 yen sitting in a safe that they can just take away for their own pleasures. This 100,000 yen is called a pooled fund or a slush fund. If they keep running with only 900,000 yen per year, then 100,000 will be added to the slush fund in a safe annual, and only a handful of people will know about that money. This is how public funds get embezzled or turned into private money. Except it's probably much higher than 900,000 yen. As we previously mentioned, the Alphabet Project is using this exact trick, and certain masterminds are pulling in huge amounts of public funds. To avoid this kind of situation, there is an audit of accounts performed every year, and oversight to ensure no one's fattening their pockets or creating slush funds. By the way, it's been said that the reason why civil engineering projects tend to start up at the end of the year is so they won't have that 100,000 yen left. But that's not relevant right now. The point is that they have to work hard to get the funds they want. Well, that's an example of having some money left over, which is certainly not bad. However, it can also be possible that there isn't enough money. After all, they are only granted 1 year's worth of funds, so they can't delve into a saving account like we do in our lives. That excess money just doesn't exist. Therefore, an estimate report should never show more expenditure than revenue. If that happens, then that means there is some extra money other than what was supplied. That's how slush funds are discovered. Tomitake was told that he was still under investigation, but the Institute's suspicious financial records could be either case. The former would be fine. It's quite common after all. But if it was the latter, there could be something quite nasty lying beneath the surface. In other words, it was quite possible that funding was coming into the AD Institute from someone other than the formal sponsors. To be more exact, there was a chance someone was interfering with the Institute by supplying funds. Tomitake was having his men look into the possibility of Takano and the Mondogs rebelling against Tokyo. While it was certainly possible for Takano to do so, because of her personal investment in the research project, it was hard to believe that the Mondogs could betray their employers out of sympathy. For the dogs to take part in Takano's conspiracy, a huge amount of money would have to be involved. And the discrepancy that Tomitake's men hadn't identified could be a sign of such. Yeah, so therefore, I think this is like evidence, like this kind of theory really does lead to the idea that, okay, the Bound Dogs are surely being controlled by like some other powerful entity, and they're not just helping Takano because they wanted some action or anything like that. There's this powerful entity in the name of Nomura who is supplying Takano with the funds and all.
失礼。今、一件報告が来ました。富武には小泉先生をご存知ですね。旧小泉派のトップです。近年お亡くなりになって派閥は瓦解した。そのトップと高野三佐の個人的信仰についてはご存知でしたか？
ええ、一応は。
では、小泉先生と小高野先生に個人的な信仰があったことはご存知でしたか？
え？いや、なるほど。小泉先生が高野三佐を可愛がっていた理由がようやくわかりました。
うん。これは興味深い内容です。実は小泉先生の死後、彼の隠し口座の清算が行われたらしいのですが、その際、金庫番の弁護士を通さず、小泉先生がご自身で下ろされた額があることが判明したんだそうです。時期は入江機関の設立がアルファベットで承認される半年前です。
それは入江機関設立の根回しに小泉先生が使ったのでは？
いえ、その根回しの金は弁護士が管理を任されていました。ですからその支出ではないと思われます。腹心の金庫番を素通しして支払うというのはよほどの個人的支出です。
So could that involve the relationship between Koizumi sensei and Takano-san?
では、高野三佐に対し小泉先生が個人的に資金を提供したということでしょうか？
はい、こちらでもそう分析しており、現在裏付けを進めています。小泉先生による機関設立の根回しとは別に、高野三佐に対し個人的に設立工作のための現金を提供したのではないかと考えています。
ということはつまり高野三佐は造反工作を行いうる現金を多額に持っている可能性があるということですか？
高野三佐は機関設立にあたり各方面への調整にあたりましたが、それは全て表ルートの接触で裏ルートからの接触ではありませんでした。ですので設立工作にあたりその提供を受けた資金を使用していないなら、それは丸々残っている可能性があります。
話が前後しますが、その提供を受けたと思われる額はいくらですか？
10億。
で、
そんなに？